Malaysia has so much to offer those looking to live and retire there. From living a luxurious lifestyle for less money compared to the West, to experiencing the amazing multicultural environment, food, and wonderful people. So a common question is if you can retire in Malaysia on Social Security. The short answer is yes, it's definitely possible, but it may depend on some factors too. In this video, we will discuss Social Security eligibility, how much you need each month in Malaysia, and 5 key things to consider before retiring abroad. First up on our list, friends, is about Social Security. Did you know that over 500,000 people living outside of the USA receive some sort of Social Security payment? The great news here is that you can still receive payments while living in Malaysia. Check this out. On the official socialsecurity.gov website, you can see which countries are on the International Direct Deposit list. I'll make sure to leave a link for you in the description for your reference. And yes, Malaysia is on this list. Also, if you don't know already, Social Security checks are calculated by the SSA from these 4 categories. We have number 1, work history, number 2, earnings history, number 3, full retirement age, and 4, claiming age. Generally speaking, to be eligible for the retirement Social Security benefit, you must be 62 years or older and have worked and paid Social Security taxes for 10 years or more. Here's also a little bit of information I found useful about credits from the SSA website. So basically, 1 credit is worth $1,730 from wages or other self-employment income. Once you have earned the amount of $6,920, you'll then gain 4 credits for the year. It goes on to say that most people need 40 credits over their working lifetime to be eligible. Now, there are also other types of Social Security benefits in addition to retirement. There is also disability, survivor, and supplemental security income, or SSI for short. But these do not fall into the scope of today's video, so you can definitely check them out at ssa.gov for more details. Okay, something else that's very cool is that you can check your own eligibility online. Upon seeing your results, you will also be shown a link on how to apply, and there are also some good contact numbers in case you have any other inquiries. We can see that the survey just takes about 10 minutes or less, and honestly, mine only took a few minutes to complete. So as for my results, it showed that I may not be eligible at this time. I'm sure this is because I'm too young and I cannot receive the payments yet. Another quick note, friends, is that I highly recommend creating your own online Social Security account. This is for US citizens. The rules may be different for those from other countries. Something very exciting that I was happy to see is that I met the working credit requirement. If you would like some more details on how to set up an online account, let me know in the comment section and I'd be happy to go over that in detail in another video. There's a really cool retirement calculator too. I highly recommend you check it out. Here are some other things you can do with your Social Security account online. For example, if you are not receiving benefits, you can get personalized retirement benefit estimates, get estimates for spouse's benefits, get proof that you do not receive benefits, check your application status, and get your Social Security statement. If you are receiving benefits, with your online account, you can set up or change direct deposit, get a Social Security 1099 or SSA 1099 form, opt out of mailed notices for those available online, print a benefit verification letter, or change your address. And something very convenient with your account is that you can request a replacement Social Security card. So let's take a look at the average Social Security payment since 2004. You can see that it's increasing year by year. Now, if you retire and receive less than $1,000 a month from Social Security, you probably want to be extra careful, especially when considering retiring abroad in Malaysia. It would be best to have other sources of retirement income. We'll get into that more later. Up next is how much money do you actually need in Malaysia each month? You'll want to ask yourself some basic questions. First, do you plan to retire as a single individual, a couple, and or with kids? Number 2, what location in Malaysia do you prefer? For example, a luxurious skyrise apartment in downtown KLCC or a cozy condo outside of the city center. Number 3, what lifestyle do you want and can accept? Dining out often in fancy restaurants versus eating cheap street food will make a big difference for total costs at the end of each month. From expansion.com, we can see that the average cost of living for one individual in Malaysia is $917. But if you're wanting a beachfront view and more amenities, then $1,000 to $1,500 is a more comfortable range. 2 of the most popular locations are Penang and KL, or Kuala Lumpur. In KL, you'll find more restaurant choices, transportation is robust, but may take a little bit longer getting from place to place with all of the people and train stops. Dining out and apartment costs in general tend to be more expensive expensive there than Penang, but you could always find a steal of a deal. When considering Penang, it is the food capital of Malaysia, has a very laid-back and chill lifestyle, and you can enjoy the beach life. Both are similar when it comes to cost of living, but the lifestyle is different and KL tends to be a bit more expensive. So the range I said was $1,000 to $1,500 per month in expenses when living in Malaysia. But some people may find themselves spending more to fit their lifestyle. And what about unexpected expenses? For these reasons, it's important to not rely upon Social Security by itself. Okay, let's jump into the 5 things to consider first before making a decision. Number 1 is getting out of bad debt. It's important to remember that debt can become a big burden if not taken care of. Not to mention the extra money lost to interest payments that could have gone towards savings or investing. This is pretty crazy, but the average American household now owes $7,951 in credit card debt. You may be asking, what is the average credit card interest rate? We can see from Forbes.com the average credit card interest rate is 27.65%. That's pretty insane, guys. Think of all that money going towards interest payments that could be used for more useful purposes. So my wife and I only have a couple of credit cards, but we use them as tools to build credit, immediately paying them off after using them for necessary purchases. But there are finance gurus out there, such as Dave Ramsey, that recommends using cash or debit card for everything. We agree with this principle to some extent. For example, all of our cars in the past have been used, reliable vehicles, and bought with cash. And I've got to say, the time it takes to save up the money for a purchase also makes getting that thing much more exciting and valuable. So 2 popular debt payoff strategies include the debt snowball method, where you focus on paying off the smallest balance first, regardless of interest rate, or the debt avalanche, which is focusing on paying off the biggest interest rate loans first. So not focusing on quantity per se, but paying off the loan balance with the highest interest rate first. Back in college, I worked extremely hard, both as a full-time student and a full-time worker, to graduate debt-free. And I used the debt snowball method to pay off student loans. The feeling of being debt-free is unmatched. It's so amazing. You can do this too before retiring. Start where you're at, start small, and build a habit of paying off debt. The second thing to consider is living within your means. Now, having a budget is a given, but it's still important to note. What I really love about this financial principle is that it's totally customizable for you. For example, my wife and I's budget for travel is larger than other categories, so we normally are very frugal and don't eat out too often. This allows us to have a bigger spending budget for vacation times. So make sure that your budget includes all your expenses, savings, and investing categories. And also, yes, make sure to have fun or entertainment categories too. The third thing to consider is having extra money in an emergency fund. It's good to remind oneself that unexpected expenses always happen. Maybe it's a loved one who has suddenly fallen ill and you need to visit them, or an urgent trip to the hospital. Regardless of the reason, an emergency fund acts as a safety net, and it is separate from your monthly spending budget. We don't hold it in a regular savings account, and we do not hold it in the stock market. Instead, we hold it in a high-yield savings account. If the stock market has a decline, well, I should say when the stock market has a decline, then we can decide to not take withdrawals in retirement and instead use money from our emergency fund while waiting for it to recover. On to number 4, invest now. Don't rely entirely on Social Security. Investing doesn't have to be complicated, friends. My wife and I's investments in the stock market are nearly all in index funds, ETFs, and mutual funds. The S&P 500 average return rate since 1960 has been 11% and around 8% adjusted for inflation, so that's a great thing to start investing in. But it takes time to grow with compound interest, so start now. No matter your age, starting now is what really counts. So a good formula to go by before retiring in Malaysia is to have Social Security plus an emergency fund plus investments in the stock market. And the 5th thing to consider is visit the country before moving there. You really won't know if a place is a good fit unless you go and check it out firsthand. Visit the beloved Malaysia, try out the foods, go on adventures, and talk with the locals and expats living there. Also, please remember that when moving to another country, it's not about making the other country change things so that you're more comfortable. Instead, it's about adapting and learning to appreciate differences. With that in mind, make sure your trip to another country isn't too short, so you have time to adapt and appreciate the unique cultures, foods, and traditions Malaysia has to offer. If you want to learn more about how my wife and I reached Coastfire, which allowed us to move abroad, please click that subscribe button and I'll see you soon.